In recent years, the geopolitical landscape has shifted dramatically, raising the question: is China truly prepared to assume a leadership role on the global stage? As the United States, under the turbulent leadership of President Donald Trump, appears to be retreating from its traditional position of dominance, China finds itself at a crossroads. The narrative surrounding China's aspirations for global leadership is complex and fraught with challenges, as examined in a recent analysis by Jacob Mardell published in IP Quarterly. China's ambitions for global influence are often framed in opposition to U.S. hegemony. For decades, Beijing has sought to diminish American sway in international affairs, a goal that seems increasingly achievable as the U.S. grapples with internal discord and a re-evaluation of its foreign policy priorities. Yet rather than celebrating this potential shift, Chinese leaders are confronted with the daunting task of fulfilling the promises of a leadership role that they have long desired. Mardell notes that China's approach to international influence has been largely reactive, shaped more by U.S. actions than by a proactive, coherent vision for a new world order. Initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) and the Global Security Initiative reflect Beijing's desire to reshape multilateral institutions, yet they often lack the substance needed to function as credible alternatives to established U.S.-led frameworks. As Mardell states, dismantling a world order is easier than constructing one, highlighting the precarious nature of China's current position. Chinese scholars widely acknowledge that the U.S. China rivalry is more than a mere diplomatic spat. It represents a systemic and enduring conflict. The sentiments expressed by Yan Yilong of Tsinghua University encapsulate this view, describing the competition as a structural conflict between the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and American hegemony. This ideological underpinning is further reinforced through China's strategic partnership with Russia, which serves as a counterbalance to U.S. influence. Amidst this backdrop, Chinese President Xi Jinping has articulated a vision of a new era in global politics, one that he believes will see the decline of U.S. dominance and the rise of a multipolar world. This narrative has gained traction within the Chinese Communist Party and is often echoed by state media. However, as Mardell points out, Xi's rhetoric has yet to translate into actionable strategies that could effectively challenge the status quo. China's historical non-committal foreign policy has allowed it to navigate complex international waters without firmly aligning itself with any single bloc. While this strategy has been advantageous in maintaining relations with disparate nations, it may prove inadequate for assuming a leadership role that requires firm commitments and clear policies. As the world watches and waits for a more assertive Chinese stance, the expectation is that Beijing must articulate a more defined vision, one that goes beyond mere opposition to U.S. policies. The current geopolitical turmoil presents both opportunities and risks for China. While the retreat of U.S. influence could open doors for greater Chinese engagement, Beijing must tread carefully. The global community, particularly in Europe and Asia, remains wary of China's intentions, often viewing its overtures with skepticism. As Mardell warns, European leaders should not fall prey to the temptation of looking to Beijing for solutions. Instead, they must be prepared to assert their own geopolitical interests. In conclusion, while China stands on the cusp of potential leadership in a shifting global order, it must overcome significant hurdles to translate its aspirations into reality. The question remains whether China can move beyond a reactive stance and construct a substantive alternative that resonates with other nations. As the world continues to evolve, all eyes will be on Beijing to see if it can rise to the occasion and fulfill the role it has long sought. The coming years will be critical in determining not only China's path but also the future of global governance as a whole. In a world increasingly defined by the rivalry between the United States and China, the uncertainty surrounding former President Donald Trump's approach to China remains a topic of intense speculation. Jane Perlez, a distinguished journalist and former Beijing bureau chief for the New York Times, recently captivated audiences during a discussion on the Boston Globe's Say More podcast, where she illustrated the complex dynamics between the two superpowers. Perlez, now a fellow at Harvard University's Kennedy School and host of the podcast Face Off, the U.S. versus China stressed the importance of understanding the unpredictable nature of Trump's policy as it relates to China. During her conversation with the Globe's editorial page editor James Dow, Perles highlighted the challenges of discerning Trump's intentions. "To be honest with you, I don't think anybody knows what's going on in Donald Trump's mind vis-a-vis China today," she remarked. This uncertainty is compounded by a significant shift in U.S. China relations over the past decade. Perles noted that her tenure in Beijing from 2012 to 2019 began with optimism but ended with a marked deterioration in relations. "I started out in 2012 with all smiles on both sides, and I end up in 2019 with no smiles on either side, particularly no smiles on the Chinese side," she recounted. As Trump navigates his second term, the foreign relations landscape has become increasingly intricate. While he appointed a team of advisors known for their hawkish stances on China, Trump has also been observed making conciliatory remarks about Chinese President Xi Jinping. "I have a great relationship with President Xi," Trump said, expressing a desire for Chinese investment in the U.S. This duality raises questions about the trajectory of U.S.-China relations moving forward. Perles suggested that Trump may currently be waiting for what he perceives as a grand deal with China, although the specifics of such an agreement remain unclear. Perles' insights extend to the broader implications of U.S. policy on China. She observed that while China presents itself as a formidable adversary, the country is currently grappling with significant economic challenges, including high youth unemployment and a declining real estate market. This internal instability could influence Trump's strategy, as he may opt to wait and see how these issues unfold before making decisive moves. The discussion also touched on the geopolitical ramifications of Trump's relationships with other countries. Perles noted the potential for China and Russia to strengthen their ties, a development that complicates the U.S. position. Trump's recent interactions with Russian President Vladimir Putin have sparked debate about whether he is attempting to create a rift between China and Russia, a strategy reminiscent of Nixon's approach in the 1970s. However, Perles cautioned that the current geopolitical landscape is vastly different, making such a strategy less viable. The podcast also delved into the importance of understanding the cultural and historical context of China. Perles emphasized that many Americans lack a deep comprehension of Chinese society, which can lead to misinterpretations of intentions and actions. "There's no way of getting around it, especially when it has 1.4 billion people," she said, underscoring the necessity of recognizing China as a peer competitor on the world stage. As the conversation unfolded, it became clear that the stakes are high for both nations. The potential for a trade war looms large, with both Trump and Xi Jinping needing to navigate their respective political landscapes carefully. Perles expressed a certain pessimism about the future of U.S.-China relations, warning that without constructive dialogue, the risk of a Cold War-style divide is real. "When both sides choose pragmatism over confrontation, deals happen," she noted, signaling that the path forward requires cooperation rather than hostility. Looking ahead, the implications of U.S.-China relations will undoubtedly influence global stability. As both nations grapple with internal and external pressures, the choices made in the coming months will shape not only their futures but also that of the international community. The need for a nuanced understanding of each country's motivations and challenges has never been more critical as they navigate an increasingly complex global landscape. In a bold move that has sent shockwaves through international economic circles, former President Donald Trump has effectively shut out China from economic discussions, a decision that is likely to have far-reaching implications for global trade relations. This development, reported on March 13, 2025, has sparked renewed discussions about the future of U.S.-China relations and the broader economic landscape as both countries grapple with their respective challenges. During a press briefing, Trump emphasized that his administration would no longer engage in negotiations with China until it demonstrates a commitment to fair trade practices. "We cannot allow China to continue its unfair practices that hurt American workers and businesses," he stated. This sentiment echoes the protectionist stance he adopted during his presidency, which resonated with many Americans concerned about job losses and trade imbalances. Trump's latest announcement signals a potential return to a more isolationist economic policy, raising questions about the impact on U.S. consumers and industries reliant on Chinese manufacturing. The decision comes on the heels of China's recent National People's Congress, where the country's leaders unveiled economic initiatives aimed at stimulating growth amid a sluggish recovery from the pandemic. Analysts at the Mercator Institute for China Studies noted that China is grappling with significant economic challenges, including a declining birth rate and increasing debt levels, which could hinder its long-term growth prospects. The Chinese economy is at a crossroads, and how it navigates these challenges will be crucial in determining its global economic standing, said Amidst economist. Meanwhile, the Brookings Institution has pointed out that Beijing's response to Trump's decision will be critical. Chinese officials may seek to bolster their domestic market and pursue new trade partnerships with other nations to mitigate the impact of U.S. sanctions. China's strategy in response to U.S. isolationism will likely involve a greater emphasis on regional trade agreements and strengthening ties with emerging markets, the report concluded. As the world watches closely, the ramifications of Trump's economic policy could extend beyond mere trade figures. Experts warn that a prolonged standoff might lead to increased volatility in global markets, particularly in sectors heavily reliant on Chinese exports such as technology and consumer goods. The ripple effects could also exacerbate inflationary pressures in the U.S., where many retailers and manufacturers depend on affordable imports from China. Looking ahead, the stakes are high. The geopolitical landscape is shifting, and both nations must navigate their economic strategies carefully to avoid a full-blown trade war. With the next U.S. presidential election on the horizon, Trump's position could influence where economic policy heads next. As tensions simmer, the global community is keenly aware that the decisions made today will shape the future of international trade and economic relations for years to come. The coming months will likely provide critical insights into how the U.S. and China will recalibrate their strategies and whether a path to constructive dialogue can be found. As tensions escalate in the Asia-Pacific region, China's military ambitions and strategic maneuvers are drawing increasing scrutiny. Recent reports indicate that Beijing is ramping up efforts to prepare for a forceful reunification with Taiwan, a move that could have profound implications for regional stability and global geopolitics. This situation is further complicated by China's ongoing naval modernization, which is reportedly being aided by foreign firms, raising concerns among international observers. China's military leadership is quietly crafting the necessary frameworks to execute a potential forceful reunification with Taiwan. According to Suyash Desai, a scholar specializing in Chinese policy, the concept of reunification has been a central tenet of Xi Jinping's vision since the 2017 Communist Party Congress. Desai cites a recent analysis published in the Foreign Policy Research Institute warning that the Chinese Communist Party has systematically organized resources and strategies aimed at this goal. No one can stop the historical trend of reunification of the motherland, she declared in December, underscoring the urgency perceived by the Chinese leadership. Desai outlines several significant reforms introduced since 2015. Designed to enhance the National Defense Mobilization System (NDMS) of the People's Republic of China. This system aims to mobilize political, economic, and social resources in times of military conflict. Notably, the enactment of the National Defense Transportation Law and the establishment of a new militia force signify a strategic shift toward a more integrated approach to national defense. Desai notes that once operational, the NDMS would ultimately allow the PRC to mobilize society and harness civilian and military resources more systematically during a potential conflict with Taiwan. The scale of such an operation raises questions about the capabilities of the People's Liberation Army (PLA). While some analysts argue that the PLA lacks the necessary resources for a large-scale amphibious assault, Desai counters that China is strategically enhancing its naval capabilities, particularly through the construction of roll-on/roll-off RRO vessels. which can facilitate rapid troop and vehicle transport. The Center for Strategic and International Studies estimates that up to 400 RRO vessels could be delivered by 2026, significantly bolstering China's amphibious operations. In tandem with these military preparations, reports from the Mercator Institute for China Studies highlight that China's National People's Congress is expected to focus on the implications of such military expansions. This year's Congress is likely to emphasize the importance of national security in shaping China's domestic and foreign policies, particularly in light of increasing tensions surrounding Taiwan. Moreover, recent developments indicate that foreign firms may play a role in China's naval modernization, as highlighted by a report from The Washington Post. This collaboration raises questions about the implications of external partnerships in bolstering China's military capabilities, potentially shifting the balance of power in the region. Analysts warn that such collaborations could lead to unforeseen consequences, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. As these developments unfold, the international community remains watchful of China's intentions. The prospect of forceful reunification with Taiwan, combined with an increasingly sophisticated military, poses significant challenges not only for Taiwan and its allies but for the broader stability of the Asia-Pacific region. China's ambitions, if realized, could redefine regional alliances and provoke a re-evaluation of defense strategies among neighboring countries. Looking ahead, the situation remains fluid, with upcoming military exercises and political maneuvers likely to provide further insight into China's strategic direction. The world is keenly aware that the decisions made in Beijing will have lasting repercussions, shaping the contours of international relations and security in the years to come under the leadership of General Secretary Xi Jinping. China's foreign policy has experienced significant evolution, particularly evident during a recent press conference held by Wang Yi, the country's foreign minister, on March 7, 2025. This conference, part of the third session of the 14th National People's Congress, provided a platform for Wang to outline China's diplomatic ambitions amid a complex global landscape. Wang emphasized that China's diplomatic progress under Xi's governance has not only fostered a conducive external environment for high-quality development but has also contributed to global stability in a time of unprecedented change. He stated China will continue to work with other countries to uphold the right path in the world, seize the trend of the times, uphold international equity and justice, and maintain world peace and stability. This assertion reflects China's commitment to positioning itself as a stabilizing force in international relations. A key component of China's diplomacy is what Wang termed head of state diplomacy, which involves direct engagement by President Xi with global leaders. This approach has yielded notable results, including enhanced ties with countries across the Global South, as seen in major events like the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation and the Forum on China-Arab States Cooperation. Such initiatives underscore China's intent to solidify its influence in regions that are increasingly pivotal to global economic dynamics. The relationship with Russia remains a focal point in China's foreign policy narrative. Wang noted the enduring nature of Sino-Russian ties, asserting that no external pressures would alter the historical bond between the two nations. Both countries have pledged to maintain a permanent good neighborly friendship, fostering a strategic partnership that prioritizes mutual interests and development. This stability reflects a broader trend where China and Russia navigate their geopolitical strategies independently of Western influence, promoting a new model of great power relations that prioritizes non-alignment and cooperation. As China's diplomatic landscape unfolds, the international situation for 2025 presents myriad challenges. Wang highlighted the complexity of the global order, characterized by unpredictability and tensions among major powers. He reiterated that China would defend its national interests resolutely while contributing to global peace and stability. No extreme pressure, no threats or blackmail will ever undermine the united will of 1.4 billion Chinese people, Wang asserted, signaling China's determination to safeguard its sovereignty amidst external challenges. The issue of the Ukrainian crisis was also addressed, where China has advocated for dialogue and negotiation from the outset. Wang reiterated the importance of finding a political solution, emphasizing that the root causes of the crisis are multifaceted and not easily resolved. China's balanced approach aims to foster conditions conducive to peace, reflecting its broader commitment to stability in Eurasia. In the realm of technological innovation, China continues to push the boundaries of scientific advancement, spearheading initiatives in artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Despite facing external pressures, particularly from the United States, China's resolve to innovate remains strong. Wang highlighted the Global AI Governance Initiative, which aims to ensure equitable technological development and foster collaboration among nations, particularly within the Global South. Furthermore, the ongoing trade tensions with the United States present a significant challenge. Wang noted that the relationship, characterized by tariffs and trade barriers, calls for mutual respect and cooperation rather than confrontation. He pointed out that the economic interdependence between China and the U.S. could serve as a foundation for constructive dialogue. Conflict and confrontation should not be an option, Wang stated, reinforcing the need for a cooperative framework that benefits both nations. As China looks ahead, its foreign policy will remain intricately linked to its economic ambitions and the broader geopolitical landscape. The upcoming Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit and China's increasing involvement in regional forums underscore its commitment to fostering partnerships that prioritize development and stability. Moreover, with the 25th anniversary of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation on the horizon, China aims to enhance its role as a leader in global governance, particularly in supporting developing nations. In conclusion, as 2025 unfolds, China's foreign policy will continue to navigate the challenges and opportunities posed by a rapidly changing world. With a focus on diplomacy rooted in mutual respect and shared development, China seeks to cement its position as a pivotal player on the global stage, contributing to a more equitable international order. The coming months will be crucial as China engages with key partners and addresses pressing global issues, setting the tone for its future diplomatic endeavors.